Hey, everybody out there in podcast land, welcome to the latest episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0. I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height, here on July 27th recording. This will hit Thursday the 28th, 2022.
Yep, we can feel the tension rising. The storm is building. NFL training camps opening this week.
MLB's getting ready for the trade deadline.
So I feel like this is the quiet before the aforementioned storm. I think this week we've got a lot to talk about, but next week I think will be nutsy cuckoo crazy.
Yep, it's going to be insanity.
So for one of the last times in 2022, Dave and I will open up with Major League Baseball. As he mentioned, trade deadline coming up next Tuesday, August the 2nd.
We should have everything in place to discuss for you, the big trades that were made.
Now, will the White Sox make a deal? Will they stand pat? Will they be sellers? I don't believe they'd be
sellers. They
sellers.
won't be sellers, but I can hear it now. The biggest deal we can make at the trade deadline is getting all of our players back healthy. That's the crap you get with a cheap-ass owner who still has Sleepy Tony in the dugout. Gah!
White Sox lost today to the Rockies. That put them back to 549-49. Minnesota lost as well to the Brewers. So White Sox are still in third, only 3 games behind the Twins. So as always, I have to be the voice of reason and sanity to calm Dave down, to walk him back off the ledge, and still stick by my prediction that the White Sox will win the AL Central.
They have to overcome Sleepy Tony and Leary Garcia. Leary again today gets picked off third base on a Moncada walk. Runners on second and third with 2 out. Moncada gets the walk, and Leary Garcia gets picked off third. That's the shit I'm dealing with.
Again, over 2 months to go. Well over 2 months to go.
There's a pattern
You're
here.
3 games out.
There's a pattern.
One good week, one good winning streak, and you are in the playoffs. You got Dylan Cease having a great year. Get Giolito fixed.
Yeah, that's going to be the big thing to try and figure
out. Your ace needs to get his head on straight.
Liam Hendricks, our closer, needs to get his shit together, too.
Yeah, he needs to stop worrying so much about gun control and start worrying about his
arm control.
Yeah.
Ugh.
For once this season, one of the few weeks I can actually say the Cubs had a good week. Cubs are at 40-57. Back up into third place. Still 14 games behind Milwaukee. Of course, they're a lost cause, but they're in the middle of a 6-game winning streak as they go out to the West Coast to play the struggling San Francisco Giants for a 4-game series Thursday through Sunday.
Yep.
Of course, the big news is who will be on the team by the time that series is done.
Yep, that's the big key. Emotional night. Last night, here as we tape, Tuesday, the big emotional farewell from Wrigley to Wilson Contreras.
Yeah, everybody knows that this is probably going to be it for Wilson Contreras. There were tears, standing ovations, as there should have been. If it wasn't for the fact that Kyle Hendricks has got the shoulder issues, he would be on the block as well, and he now becomes the last vestige of the championship team from 2016 now, with Wilson Contreras going bye-bye. Eventually, the rumors are right now that the Mets want both Contreras and the current Cubs closer, Dave Robertson.
Interesting. We'll see.
That kind of worries me because, of course, we made a deal with the Mets last year for Javi Baez. Now I'm kind of wondering, now it's a different GM, different situation, but I'm kind of wondering, are they playing the Cubs because they feel like the Cubs are easy marks, or are the Cubs playing the Mets because the Mets are easy marks?
Yes, to both counts.
So I've bitched and pissed and moaned about the fact that I have not seen these great prospects from the trades last year make an impact yet. So I am not optimistic
that there's anything in the farm system.
Well, that the Cubs are not going to get anything but fleeced by the Mets.
Yeah.
Giving up Robertson and Contreras, of course, both due for free agency at the end of the year. You know?
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah. We'll give you a pack of Nathan's hot dogs.
Okay.
That sounds good. Tom Ricketts is going, I could sell those at one of our concession stands
for
and make a markup of
45%. Yeah.
Bastard. You talk about your owner being cheap. We got completely scammed on the north side by Ricketts.
Yep, big time.
The minute Theo left town, Ricketts decided, oh, now it's all about what happens around the stadium, not what happens on the field.
We won the World Series, so now we can go back to being a small budget team who can finish maybe in the middle of the division and scuffle along and still have people show up and overcharge them for everything and not put a product on the field.
Yep. Welcome back to the 1970s, Cubs fans.
70s, 80s, 90s. The heyday of the Tribune ownership.
Oh, moving on to other teams, so we don't have to share our misery with all of you. This weekend, of course, was the Hall of Fame induction. Sorry, not a big fan. I have had my complaints about the Baseball Hall of Fame almost as much as the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yep.
I am not a big Poppy guy. I am not a big Poppy fan, although he stole the show, supposedly, this weekend.
Whatever. They're going to kiss his ass no matter what.
Well, he was the one big name. You know, everything else was Gil Hodges. You know, and then all of a sudden the media goes ballistic this week. Oh, Tim Kurkjian got nominated for a media award. Tim Kurkjian got a media award.
Shit.
Who? The little weasel from ESPN got in the Hall of Fame. This is like Judas Priest.
That's ridiculous.
This is like Judas Priest getting into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And Rob Halford this week came out and said he's still pissed about it because they didn't get in as performers. They got the Rock Excellence Award.
Yeah, that's
this
bullshit.
Tim Kurkjian crap. I'm so tired of the media kissing the media's ass.
It needs to end.
Just because you guys can sometimes put 2 or 3 coherent sentences together doesn't make you a Hall of Famer.
Bingo.
God. We're still having issues, kids, with COVID, especially when it comes to traveling internationally and not
that means
getting
Canada.
your shot. Yes, and now Toronto's on fire.
Isn't that
not the city, but the Blue Jays. So now they've won 7 in a row. They have jumped way up in the wild card standings. All of a sudden, they're playing St. Louis in a short 2-game set up in Canada. And the 2 best players for the Cardinals, Nolan Arenado and Paul Goldschmidt,
have to stay home.
Goldschmidt could be the MVP of the National League. They both have to stay home. And of course, in the first game, Toronto whooped up on the Cardinals, and I'm hoping they do it again tonight because that was my pick for this week. But again, what's going to happen when now we get into the depths of September? Let's not even think about October.
No.
The Yankees, the Red Sox, the Rays, the Orioles. Now the Orioles have passed the Red Sox. Now we're in 4th place.
I know. The Orioles have been
when these
surging.
Teams have to go to Toronto.
And that, let's face it, the wild card is coming. The wild cards are coming out of the East at this point.
You're getting at least, in my opinion, 2. I would be shocked if you don't get 2. Seattle has made themselves
they're relevant.
A relevant wild card contender.
They are, but you're getting 2 wild cards out of the East.
But how is that going to work? Now, are you basically de facto going to give that first wild card slot to the Blue Jays because all these teams are going to go up
and
to
can't take
Canada.
The full team with them?
Right. And it's not just anybody from the AL East. It's any team, as we're seeing right now with the Cardinals.
Yeah.
Any team that has to play Toronto in Canada
is going to get hosed.
Yeah. Now
if
Kansas
you're
City did this a couple weeks ago, and they came out first game and beat up on the Blue Jays, and everybody said, "Oh, see, it doesn't matter." Well, then the next 3 games,
guess what?
Yeah,
it matters.
Blue Jays, Blue Jays, Blue Jays, WWW.
So this is a lesson for all you National League teams who are in contention. You have to think about getting your players vaccinated because there's a chance you have to go to Canada for the World Series. A legitimate chance of going up there.
Yes, especially the Mets, the Dodgers, of course, the 2 strongest teams right now in the National League. They have definitely got to start thinking about that. Good point, Dave. One more point on the Toronto Blue Jays. Record back on July the 22nd against their division rivals, the Boston Red Sox. They put up 28 runs.
That was freaking
at
ridiculous.
Fenway.
That was insane. Boston is definitely going the wrong direction.
And this has been the story for Boston this year. They started off extremely slow.
They got hot.
And now
they're just
tailing off again.
Yeah. Crazy.
Now the Yankees took a hit to their bullpen. Michael King fractured his elbow. He is out for the season. So now you got to wonder if the Yankees are going to be looking at getting some relievers.
That's going to be intriguing where they go. Then you got Stanton on the IL with Achilles tendonitis. That's worrisome for the rest of the year.
And the big thing is, we're not saying the Yankees are going to choke away the lead they've got
in
the East, but
there are chinks in the armor.
And they could lose home field to their pesky nemesis, the Houston Astros.
They could easily do that.
They're not videotaping stuff. They're not banging on drums.
Nope. And
they've just got the Cy Young Award winner, one of the finalists for MVP with Yordan Alvarez.
Yeah.
That team is in
great shape. And yes, you can say the Yankees are looking at doing extremely well regular season. Yeah, so did the 100-plus win Mariners. That record-breaking team that failed miserably in the playoffs.
And I think the one thing we've got to look at here right now with the Yankees is that starting rotation, which was so good and so consistent and so solid for the first half of the season, is starting to break down.
Yep.
Can you trust Jordan Montgomery? Can you trust Domingo Germán just coming back? Severino's dinged up. Garrett Cole has been inconsistent.
Yep, it's that time where it's cyclical in baseball. Sometimes you get hot and then fade away. Sometimes you can find that middle ground, and sometimes you're just eh.
And again, you mentioned Giancarlo Stanton now on the IL with an Achilles issue. When do we see Aaron Judge?
Yep.
Those 2 China dolls, to my recollection, have never been able to stay healthy for a full year.
Stanton's second stint on the IL this year?
I lost track. I just know that you can't go a full year with either one of those 2 being completely healthy.
Yep, and then the same with out west, your 3-time MVP, Mike Trout, who now is reported to have a rare spinal condition that could at some point impact his career. Who knows? I mean, if there's something going on there, the way you play baseball, swinging the bat really torques the hell out of your back. Throwing from the outfield, all the running and jumping you have to do, trying to make the catches, the dives, whatever, takes a wear and tear. He's kind of blowing it off, but it's something you got to be concerned about going forward.
Right. And one final thought on that. You're right. So you would think, I've ripped on Aaron Boone recently. You would think you would take Stanton and just make him a DH and take him out of the field
A smart person would do that.
But who do you put in there? Joey Gallo is a disaster. They are trying to find anybody
To
to take
take him
Joey
away.
Gallo, the strikeout king of Major League Baseball.
All right, where does Stanton supposedly play?
He's an outfielder.
You got to be able to find somebody else.
Yeah, but I don't think there's as many people out there.
Can you?
Now, do they pull the trigger on a huge Juan Soto deal?
I don't know. That would be the one to do. Or do you try and throw Stanton at first and make Rizzo an outfielder?
Oh, Jesus, no. You can't take Rizzo off first. Rizzo is one of the greatest fielding first basemen of the last 20 years. You can't.
Just throwing it out there. You
know.
got to try and figure something out.
And, of course, we'll talk more about this next week because when we do next week's podcast, all of the dust will have settled. All of the trades will have been done.
We'll know if Soto is traded or not.
Yep. They don't have to trade it.
They don't. They've got, 2 more years of control? 2.5?
Yep.
The rest of this year and 2 additional. So there's no time crunch on that.
Yep. All right, kids, time to move on to the NFL. And, of course, Dave and I had a huge debate topic to bring up first and foremost. Kyler Murray gets paid.
Why?
After his last game, you would say exactly that. You would say, why? After he looked lost, unprepared, uninvolved when it came to the Rams destroying him.
You can say that about half the games he's played. He never looks like he's fully prepared.
And the worst part is the interviews he gave after signing this 5-year, $230.5 million extension don't lead you to believe that anything Dave is saying that I'm thinking is wrong. Because now he gets $160 million guaranteed.
That's
but
ridiculous.
What came out a couple days ago is the most interesting.
You mean the little clause?
The independent study clause in his contract. Now, this could be absolutely brilliant if the Cardinals can void the contract based on this. I don't believe the players' union would allow it, but
it's in the contract. He has to live up to it.
Kyler Murray has to, off campus, study 4 hours per week during the season on his own.
On his own. Doing nothing else. It can't be in the background while he's playing video games or doing his social media crap or watching a movie. He actually has to spend 4 hours a week studying film, learning what's the opposition going to try and do to me. How did I screw up the previous week? These are things that shouldn't have to be put in a contract. If you're a professional ball player, you should be doing 3 times at least that much prep work.
Yeah, rumor is that he has been the last one in, the first one out at camps, practices. That's why they felt like they had to put this in to the contract. But of course, again, his interviews, he says, well, you got to understand, I'm very improvisational and I'm paraphrasing. But very improvisational, and I understand. I'm smart enough. I'm intuitive enough, and my physical abilities and my gifts allow me to do things, so I don't really have to study like that.
No, bullshit. That's why you get your ass handed to you most of the time. You unprepared deer in the headlights goofball.
He is like the anti-Peyton Manning. You know, he's just Peyton Manning, of course, the most studious, intelligent quarterback, in my humble opinion, of all time.
Well, how much time does Brady put in, too?
Right. Well, all of them do. I would say 90% of the great quarterbacks in the league
live and breathe.
I'm sure Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert aren't doing what they're doing based on, my intuitive
improvisational abilities.
They're working their asses off because they realize I'll get this kind of a contract and I'm set for life. My children are set for life. My children's children are set for life.
These other guys have done a hell of a lot more than Kyler Murray. They show more ability and promise than Kyler Murray.
And let's look at and see how Marquise Brown handles this. Going from Lamar Jackson, who he supposedly wanted to get away from because he wasn't getting the ball because Lamar Jackson couldn't throw the ball to him. Now he's going to go with Mr. Intuitive.
Yeah, Kyler's not going to get you the ball either.
So now we've got Mr. Intuitive in the NFC West, and we've got the lateral thinker in our division, who we'll get to later. I've got a special Aaron Rodgers update for you later.
Oh, God.
But yeah, this is a bad omen of things to come in the NFL when a mediocre young quarterback who has basically declined year after year after year gets this kind of money.
It screws everything up.
That scares me.
That's panic by the Cardinals because they know they screwed up bringing him in and bringing in Kingsbury.
Yeah, and we know they just gave Kingsbury an extension, so, let's let this stupid, awful marriage continue. Let's do it for the kids.
There you go. God.
All right, going to our team, the Chicago Bears.
Again, orange helmets, baby! Yeah, orange helmets!
We can't get through a week with the Bears without there being mostly bad news, a little bit of good news. But yeah, the orange helmets were unveiled. Okay, whatever. Yeah, I'm ambivalent. I really don't care. The thing that worries me is this talk of Roquan Smith and Robert Quinn begrudgingly showing up for training camp. Now, I understand Roquan.
Roquan needs to get paid. He has been the best defensive player on that team since he was drafted.
But Robert Quinn, shut up and show up for football practice. You have 3 years left on your goddamn deal.
One
year, you sucked. 1 year, you were great. Let's have another great year before you start bitching about your contract, boy.
You're the one that signed it.
I am sick of this. Now the NBA mentality bleeding into the NFL.
It's going to ruin football if you let this shit happen. You're already seeing the chink in the armor because of the stupid-ass Cleveland Browns giving Watson that fully guaranteed deal.
Again, Robert Quinn, play another year like last year, then maybe we'll talk. But I told you I hated that deal when we signed him.
It was too much to begin with.
And now he wants more.
No.
Now he wants an extension.
No.
Oh, I don't like the trade rumors.
Well,
shut up and suck it up, Buttercup.
That's the NFL. Deal with it.
You're going to get your guaranteed money. All right? It's guaranteed. Look it up in the dictionary.
You're set.
Doesn't matter where you're playing or who you're traded to. Now, finally, as belated as this news is, the Bears did open up the checkbook and give Justin Fields a little bit of protection as we get Riley Reif in for a $12.5 million one-year deal. Hopefully this doesn't turn out to be like an Orlando Pace, Jason Peters type deal.
Yeah.
Riley Reif is a little bit younger than those guys were when they tried to bring them in and squeeze every last bit
of what they could. They were on their last toe.
Riley Reif should be good for 1 year.
Yes. Now, as camp opens after everything hit, every position except quarterback and running back has new starters penciled in.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
People have moved around, but...
Well, yeah. When you add Riley Reif in, this puts us over 30 absolutely new players on the roster.
Yep. It needed to be done. We'll see what this offensive line does. That was the weakest part of that team. But now the weakest part has become the wide receivers. We'll see what transpires.
And again, echoing a lot of things I've heard from the national media, everybody's worried that the Bears regime, even though it's brand new for the most part, except for the upper echelons, the same old, meet the new boss, same as the old boss. are going to destroy Justin Fields. Now, the Riley Reef signing makes
That
me
helps.
feel a little better.
They've given him some protection. We'll see what happens.
All right. Now, I gotta rip on Fox News. I rip on everybody. Liberals, Democrats, Republicans, conservatives. It's time for me to rip on Fox News. I saw this last night, and I was like, what are they talking? NFL world shocked when star running back abruptly retires. And I'm thinking, what, Derrick Henry? Who are you talking? Austin Eckler? Chris Carson.
Who?
Of the Seattle Seahawks is retiring due to neck issues.
Well,
Chris Carson barely made a blip on the radar. Did he have potential? Sure.
Everybody
Did
has
he have
potential.
maybe a year and a half where he was really good and solid, decent? NFL star running back. Oh,
he's
come
not
on.
an NFL. He's not
How
a star
melodramatic.
running back. That's the shit you get from all media.
Rashad Penny had already taken the starting spot last year away from him because he was injured last year.
It's not a shock.
Chris Carson was not a big star NFL running back.
Yeah, no.
He was a middle-of-the-road timeshare running back.
Yep.
Stop with the drama, Fox.
Hey, how about all media stop with the drama? Oh, all right. Bengals, Joe Burrow, his offseason is put behind schedule with an appendectomy.
Yeah, but an appendectomy nowadays.
Anymore, that's not that bad. But still, it's going to put him back a couple weeks.
I don't think that's going to hurt him a bit. Because he wouldn't really even play that much until the third week.
Yeah.
You know, the third week is the one.
That's when taking
the dress
hits.
rehearsal.
Yeah. But still, it's going to limit him on taking any reps in camp.
Yep. The 49ers officially said what we all know, that Jimmy G is gone the minute they can dump him or trade him. So Trey Lance will be the starter.
Ugh, wow. That's going to hurt, especially since their biggest offensive weapon, Mr. Debo, refuses to show up for any practices while they're doing their negotiations on his new contract.
Yeah, Debo, that's a tricky one. I mean, I would pay him. I think he is such a wicked Swiss Army type weapon, Swiss Army knife type weapon.
Yeah, he's young enough. This is a guy who should get paid.
Yeah.
He is the heart of that offense.
But what they're looking at the fact that not only do they have to pay him, but they're going to have to pay Bosa coming up. So they're trying to allot this money the best they can.
Guess what? You got a choice to make.
Yep.
And Debo, if you want to win anything, you have to not be a greedy ass bastard at the same time. It's got to work both ways.
Look at Tom Brady. Somehow Tom Brady always took a little bit less so the team could get a little bit better.
Yep. Speaking of Brady and the Bucks, Julio Jones is signed to a 1-year deal.
And Kyle Rudolph.
As well, yes.
Insurance if Gronk decides not to come back, which is going to be a week-by-week thing all the way through 2022.
I would say plan to go without him.
That's all right. Cameron Brate, Kyle Rudolph, he can get by with that.
Yeah.
Brady can get by with that. Yeah.
Big time.
And then Julio Jones be a fourth option. He'll be a nice fourth option.
He's kind of an outlet guy.
And Chris Godwin, I heard. Chris Godwin is already reporting to camp after tearing up his knee.
Damn.
One of the quickest recoveries we've seen from a torn up knee.
Oh, man.
Up there with Julian Edelman.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Godwin says he's going to be good to go full speed for regular season.
All right. We'll see how that goes.
On a sad note, to wrap up our first segment, it's done temporarily before it even started. Texans rookie wide receiver John Mechie III diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh, God, you hate that.
He is going to take the first year off. His rookie season will not happen, at least yet.
Yep. Thoughts and prayers go out to him for a recovery.
Yep. So, kids, we try to do what we can to be positive. Stay tuned. Segment 2 coming up next.
This episode of Sports Frenzy 2.0 is brought to you by the Bills Mafia Marital Aid Company, because when you are down and out, we'll bring you back up and in the game. Sports Frenzy 2.0 on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Breaker, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, and Stitcher. Welcome back, our loyal listeners, to segment 2 of Sports Frenzy 2.0, here taping July 27, 2022, airing the 28th. I'm the Conquistador, Dave Height.
And I am the maestro, Kevin Crane.
So this second segment, we're going to kick off with NASCAR.
But Dave, before we do that, where can our loyal podcast listeners find Sports Frenzy 2.0?
They can find it and tell their friends and family to check us out on Spotify, Anchor, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Cast, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon, Audible, and Stitcher!
Cut generic promo.
So much fun to do this stuff. But getting back to the racing scene from
Lots
the
to
weekend.
talk about this week. Not only NASCAR, but the season finale of SRX.
Big news in NASCAR, though, coming out of the Pocono race. We thought 5 of us got a win with our pick of Denny Hamlin. We were rejoicing until the devastating news came out that he and Hamlin and Kyle Busch were both disqualified. NASCAR has not disqualified anybody since 1960, and there have been a myriad of times when it should have happened. This seems to be the most insignificant infraction in the history of the sport. But because it's the next-gen car, one little extra piece of tape underneath the wrap costs them dearly.
As Denny Hamlin said, $300,000 piece of tape. $300,000 piece of tape. Not to mention the chaos it has caused here on Sports Frenzy.
Ugh, the consternation of it all. And what the hell is going on with Gibbs?
No appeal.
No appeal. And it's on 2 of the 4 cars. Now, was it supposed to have gone onto maybe Bell and Truex's cars to try and give them a little bit, especially Truex?
Well, they were the ones that would need the help more because Hamlin and Kyle Busch were locked in. Now, Bell is locked in
with the win, but he's flirting with being down a little bit.
Right,
but Truex is the one that really needs a win to solidify his place. I don't know what's the hell's going on.
And wouldn't it have been interesting if that third place car, Chase Elliott, gets awarded the win, finishing in third, he gets bumped up to first. Wouldn't it have been interesting if that third place car had been somebody who hadn't had a win yet?
That would have really screwed everything.
Boy, that would have made this an unbelievably ridiculous season to remember, and not necessarily for all good things.
Yeah. No, absolute mass chaos.
Now, Gibbs wasn't the only racing team to get hammered.
Nope.
Front row gets nailed. Michael McDowell, the 34 car, quote unquote, altered seams body filler infraction. Front row is appealing, unlike Gibbs.
Yeah.
Because the hammer really came down hard on Michael McDowell. 100 owner, 100 driver points. Crew chief Blake Harris suspended 4 races, fined $100,000.
Plus, if by some miracle in the next couple races they happen to get a win and make the playoffs, they would automatically be docked 10 playoff points to boot.
That is a heavy, heavy, heavy penalty, kids.
Ugh. There you go. NASCAR's cracking down.
Yeah, not only that, but earlier in the week, more penalties. Petty GMS got an L1 penalty for Ty Dillon and Eric Jones. They were docked 35 points. Owner and driver points for a rocker box infraction. So NASCAR is saying we're done.
No more. The car parts, you get them, you put them on. No more massaging, no more tweaking.
Yep. Now the good news for Eric Jones is rumors are that they're getting very close to a multi-year extension between him and Petty GMS. I like Eric Jones. I would love to see him continue on.
I would love to see him get some support and equipment to see what he could actually do.
Yep.
So, also coming out of Pocono, Hamlin and Chastain had one of the great racing incidents. I'm sorry, there was nothing dirty on Hamlin's part here. It's one of those where they were both going for the lead. Neither one of them would back down. And Chastain just got on the wrong end of it. It could have just been as easily been Hamlin spinning out into the infield as Chastain going up into the wall. It was just a hard driving, and Chastain even has come out and said he doesn't hold a grudge on it.
No, and I think through all this, yes, everybody hates Ross Chastain this year. He is the Paul Tracy of NASCAR this year. We'll get to SRX in a bit, but he's handled it well. He's not trying to pick a fight. He's not trying to
he's
cause
establishing
issues.
himself as a hard-nosed racer who's not going to give any quarter. He's going to take what he can get. And I respect that. That's old school racing. Yeah. And I like to see it out there.
And the thing that I like the most about it is that he's taking this and handling it very maturely.
Yeah,
and saying, this is who I am. If it works for me, fine. If it doesn't, fine. I'm not going to get pissed off or upset either way.
Right.
Now, Denny Hamlin and Martin Truex, Chase Elliott can all get pissed off at him.
Yeah, because they can be whiny little bitches.
But you better get used to it because Ross Chastain ain't going nowhere.
No,
he's the future. He's the future of NASCAR, along with a couple other guys that we'll talk about here in the coming weeks.
Yeah.
Now, again, going back to Chase Elliott, this has been his weekend. This was his weekend.
Yeah.
He gets awarded the win at Pocono on Sunday because of the DQ.
Yeah, and he's not celebrating it in any way, shape, or form.
A few days earlier, he gets the news that Napa will stick with him and Hendrick Motorsports on a multi-year sponsorship deal.
Yep.
And, of course, in NASCAR, that is golden.
Yeah, that is huge to have that going forward. But then he also had the Saturday night, comes in to race the SRX on dirt and gets the win.
Second year in a row.
Comes in for the final race of the year and steals one away.
Yep. Second year in a row. In the 2 years that SRX has been around, Chase Elliott has come in on the final race and decided, I'm going to show these old bastards what I can do.
Exactly. That was good.
Yep.
Marco Andretti winds up winning the SRX title for this second year.
I still need to sit down and look at how they award points.
The point, I know.
Because I don't see how Tony Stewart winning 2 races doesn't win the championship.
Yeah, I think it's the way they award points in the heats and everything.
Yeah, I think the heats have a lot more weight than they really should.
Potentially. But I was very disappointed with Stewart in this race.
Oh, he had an awful, awful race. He did.
I mean, there were times where you could see him starting to surge up, and then he backed off.
But I'm going to say this. I am going to put out a Maestro conspiracy theory.
That he didn't want to take all the glory? 2 years in a row?
It would have looked very bad for the co-owner of SRX Racing to win the championship in its first 2 years. So I am going to put out there that I think Smoke
backed off
in the last race.
That's what I was getting to with this one, because you could see in the heats he would start to surge and make some headway, and then he would back off. And even in the second, when he started up closer, he was running, and then he backed off. and then he made the run in the final and got up there, and then he backed off, backed out.
Yeah. Yeah, I think he wanted to, in the end, leave it in the hands of the other three guys who were fighting for the title, Andretti, Newman, and Labonte.
Yeah.
He wanted to let those guys fight it out.
And see how it
I'm
played.
not, as a
I'm
good
not
owner,
gonna knock
I'm not
it.
going to take all the glory.
Right. I cannot fault that.
Even though knowing Smoke, he's probably sitting there thinking,
why
even
the
though
hell didn't I?
I'm 10 times better than all you bastards out there. Of course, race 6 was at Sharon Speedway in Hartford, Ohio.
Yep, owned by the Blaney family.
Yep, so that was not the way they wanted that to go. That was very anticlimactic.
Yeah,
Ryan couldn't run in the heats.
No,
they had no backup cars.
No, because they had so many people there, and they tore up so many the week before. But Ryan Blaney gets the car destroyed. The front end, they had to rebuild it, put in a new radiator, hook up, redo all the oil lines.
All the fluids, yeah.
Because
all
on
the
the
fluids
first,
were leaking.
Within the first 2 laps of the first heat, he gets nowhere to go on a melee and just boom, head on collision.
And of course, Joey Logano's in the booth, and he and Chase Elliott and Blaney all drove in from the airport together.
Yeah, they flew in, and then
Joey Logano's on the in-car communication saying, "Hey, this is your chauffeur, Chase. How you doing?"
Yeah, you know what? Logano was good in the booth.
He's fun.
He was. I have a newfound liking for him. Doing that, you got to see a different side of him than being the whiny little driver. You got to see the fun side of Joey, and it was good to see that come out.
Yeah, and I've seen him do some Xfinity races.
Yeah, he's pretty good in the booth. I think he's got a secondary career coming down the line if he puts it.
He's not a Clint Boyer yet.
No, but he hasn't done as much either.
Right.
So
and that's a high wire act to pull off, the Clown Prince of NASCAR.
Yeah.
You know. But I look at it this way. That's fine. Jeff Gordon went off to become VP at Hendrick. He was okay in the booth.
He wasn't great.
Right.
It's the rare driver who can come out and do it. Ned Jarrett was probably one of the best of all time.
Yeah. And a lot of I still say Rusty never got a fair shot.
He never got a fair shot.
I thought Rusty, the little I heard of him on the pre-race shows, the analysis shows during the week, I think Rusty would have been dynamic in the booth.
I would have loved to have seen more out of him.
Yep.
But a couple other little tidbits. NASCAR has a couple of tracks have entered the college football NIL landscape. We had previously Atlanta doing a 1-race deal with 3 Georgia football players. Now, Darlington Raceway has a 1-year deal with Coastal Carolina quarterback George McCall. Very intriguing.
Yeah, I don't know in the grand scheme of things how much
what
all
that's going to do.
Yeah.
But everybody's starting to get into it now.
Yep. Hey, I'm just happy a smaller school like Coastal Carolina, they're getting in on this.
Yeah, that's the part I really liked.
And again, we've talked about this over the last couple of months ad nauseum. I want a school like Coastal Carolina to survive. I want them to thrive. I don't want them to get thrown under the bus. Oh, who cares if they went 12-0 or 11-1 or whatever.
That's what we want to see.
Let them get their asses handed to them by Alabama, but let them try. Give them the opportunity.
Put them on the big stage. That's what we want.
Of course, the one last headline at Pocono before we move on to this week's race, which is going to carry over this headline to this week. Kurt Busch had a nasty wreck qualifying at Pocono. Concussed, did not run the Pocono race. Ty Gibbs, of course, the heir apparent, the Lord God, Lion King child, who's supposedly the next great driver who will be up there with Chase Elliott.
Yeah, we'll see.
He got to run for Kurt. Now this week he will get to do it again on the road course at Indianapolis because Kurt Busch is still not cleared to race.
Yeah. Now let's give Ty some props. He got a top 20 finish, finished 18th, stayed out of trouble, gave it a good run.
Oh, and by the way, Dave, unbelievably shocking news came out of the Kurt Busch camp this past week.
No.
He hinted at retiring in 2023 after the season.
No.
That whole Tyler Reddick thing where Tyler Reddick signed with 2311 that we talked about.
No. Really?
Yeah, I mean, who could have seen this coming?
God.
Only Sports Frenzy 2.0, who we told you
what was going to happen.
We told you the minute Tyler Reddick signed that 2024 deal with 2311
was going to
meant
be
Kurt Busch was the one that was out.
Because they weren't going to get rid of Bubba yet. You know this.
No, because Bubba will sue them and say it's racist that they get rid of him because he seems like a little pansy-ass snowflake. Sorry, I hate Bubba Wallace. I just do. I don't like him. Take him out and put Haley Deegan in that car. See? You can call me a racist, but you can't call me a sexist.
No misogyny here, people.
All right, it is time for race 22. Final day of July, the 31st, 2022, Indianapolis, the road course. Dave and I have discussed this. We're not happy with the fact that Road America got pulled off the schedule for next year. We think Indy should have gone back to the Brickyard format.
Yep,
got
run
rid
the
of
oval.
A Kansas City race. One of these cookie cutter tracks that gets 2 races a year. Understood that you don't want to add another road course, as they've already focused on that over the last 2 or 3 years. But
yeah, we had a solution. They won't listen to us. But this is the big Indy weekend with the IndyCar Series, the Xfinity Series, and the Cup Series.
Yep. So this is only the second year they've run the Indy road course at the Cup level for the Verizon 200. We're having issues with our panel. We have 7 of the 8 picks in. We will not discuss. He who shall not be named. The Voldemort of Sports Frenzy right now. Some people, let's say, are bitter about the disqualification of Denny Hamlin last week and are taking it out on Sports Frenzy instead of just sucking up and dealing with it like Dave and I and the rest of us who got screwed out of a win.
Yep. You got to deal with things and move on. Forge ahead.
That being said, we have got 6 different picks among the 7 we've got in. Of course, Nick and Bill go with who you would think. Chase Elliott.
Yep. They had him left out there for it.
Just remember, there is one more road course coming, children. Listen to your Uncle Kevin. Doug is going with yet another favorite at this track. He's going with Kyle Larson.
Yep.
Aaron and Jen, I think, probably burned up most of the picks that they would have gone with. Everybody seems to still be enamored with Brad Keselowski. They are both going with BK. Sorry, I'm staying away from him until he proves to me
that
new team he's on can do something. Yeah. Anything.
Yep, I'm staying away from them as well. I am going with last year's winner, the Ringer Allmendinger.
A very, very good pick. My second pick overall. I've looked back at when I've done this and gotten lazy. I'm not saying you're lazy. I'm not saying that. But I'm saying that when I look at the stats and I go, oh, he won last year, but the stats look so great that I should take him again. Every time I try to go back to back, it never works.
I've avoided going that, and it's burned me already this year.
Right.
So now I'm trying it.
See, I am not going to do it. I'm not going to do it.
I got to change something up.
I am going to go with Trackhouse Racing's Hot Hand.
The hot tamale?
I am going with the hot tamale. Very good, Dave. I am going with Daniel Suarez. This might be the first time I've ever picked him on Sports Frenzy.
I think that is correct.
Even with the disaster of last week, I've still got a little bit of wiggle room to make the playoffs. I don't think Suarez will get
He was probably going to be my third choice.
Yeah.
I had thought about possibly taking Bell as well, who runs road courses decently.
Yeah, I could see that. I just like the way Suarez looked earlier in the year on the road course when he won. Different car, different team, different attitude.
Yeah.
So I hope he runs down that taco piñata or whatever the hell it was when he won last month or the month before. So I am going with Daniel Suarez again. Remember, Watkins Glen is still coming, kids.
It's looming.
And look, let me look at the stats. Let me look at the sheets of who I've got left. I might have a Chase Elliott left for Watkins Glen.
You might. I might have somebody else lined up for that one too.
And this will basically knock out all but one of the races for me until the playoffs. I have everything else lined up until Daytona. That's the only one I don't have anybody penciled in for yet.
Yeah, I haven't even gone that far. Nothing's gone well for me this season, so I'm just going to start playing it by ear instead of the mapped out that I had earlier.
Yeah, again, this has been an awful year for us in our Frenzy Cup, is what we call our NASCAR competition each and every year. And with this DQ this past weekend at Pocono, it's just made it an unbelievably awful year.
It's been
we have had occasional years where one of the 8 of us didn't make the final 10 races,
half
but
of us
we have never had it like this where we're getting to the point where, half of us might not make it. Half of us might not make the chase because of all the new winners, the younger drivers showing up, the older drivers failing miserably.
The bad racing luck.
Yep. Little bit of college football news. Once again, how can these coaches, especially the coaches in the SEC, bitch and piss and moan about the NIL deals and the money that's flowing now to the players when they're getting paid?
Oh, my God.
Kirby Smart gets a 10-year, $112.5 million extension.
That's absolutely ridiculous.
Which will keep him with Georgia through 2031. Not an extension, I'm sorry.
No.
They ripped up his old deal.
Yeah, this is a brand new one.
Yep.
Absolutely stupid.
And, of course, with the Hurricanes, my beloved Hurricanes, Dave and I talked about this off mic when we were taping last week. It had just hit. Didn't have a chance to address it on the podcast. Mario Cristobal, I'm loving what he's doing recruiting. He is getting some great players in at the U, but I am not happy they are getting rid of the turnover chain. I love the turnover chain. That's the attitude. That is who we are. We are badasses. We are thugs. We are pimps. Come on, man. You got to keep the turnover chain.
That's an insignificant thing. He's trying to change the culture.
No. The Hurricanes are who we are. You can't change that. We are Michael Irvin snorting cocaine off a silver platter. We are Warren Sapp testing positive for marijuana right before the draft. That is who the U is.
I'm sure you're proud of it all.
I love my boys, my thug boys. Now, again, like last segment, we had to get a little somber. We should point out a great gesture by one of the all-time fantastic college football players, Bo Jackson. Bo Jackson forked over $170,000 of his own money to cover expenses for the funerals for the victims of the Uvalde school shooting. And
Bo's always been a class act.
He would have been Shohei Ohtani if he'd just been able to stay healthy consistently over both baseball and football.
Yeah, if it was that one hit that
popped his hip out,
took care of his hip, that he couldn't do football anymore, and it was amazing that he was even able to come back and play baseball.
Yep. So, Bo Jackson, fantastic gesture.
Kudos to you.
Yep. We should also point out, shifting over to the NFL, another really wonderful gesture from J.J. Watt.
J.J. Watt.
For all we give him grief.
Give him
we do.
Shit for
because he's like the Mike
field.
Trout of the NFL. We're separating the man from the performer, the man off the field from the man on the field,
from the player.
Right.
The man off the field is freaking amazing. This guy is a saint. He will do anything for anybody, as this story that Kevin's about to tell you shows.
Yeah, this woman posts on Twitter that she is selling a J.J. Watt jersey, J.J. Watt shoes, because she has got to find a way to pay for the funeral expenses for her grandfather. J.J. Watt sees this post and basically, in as few words as possible, says, do not sell the shoes or the jersey. We will cover the funeral. Just, again, I hope all you greedy bastards out there, the Kevin Durants, the Kyrie Irvings, the Robert Quinns, who care only about squeezing as much money as you can out of an organization, look at this kind of stuff from Bo Jackson and J.J. Watt, and you realize that this, if you're going to do it, if you're going to take all this money and you're going to mercilessly renegotiate contracts, demand to be traded, and demand to get an extension when you don't deserve one, you better damn well do what these two men did. You take that money and you put it back into the community and you do good with that money.
And these are the rare stories that actually make it to the news. These guys do this type of thing all the damn time, and it doesn't get reported.
So once again, kudos to Bo Jackson and kudos to J.J. Watt for being
stand-up class acts guys.
And of course, that would apply to Dave and I too. But we're not rich, so
we can't do it.
I think I put a quarter in the Salvation Army bucket last Christmas.
There you go.
Here, Dave, touch my halo. Touch my halo.
I don't want to get the green from the tarnish on my hand.
One final segment left, kids, whether you like it or not.
It's
coming. Dave and I will be right back.
The wrap-up to come.
Hey, kids, ready for a blast of dairy goodness? Pick up Sports Frenzy 2.0 milk at your local grocery store. Remember, when you drink Sports Frenzy 2.0 milk, you're not only enjoying a healthy treat, you're helping to locate missing sports heroes of the past and present. Our cartons and jugs feature pictures of Peng Shuai, Ryan Leaf, and Sammy Sosa as we do our part to find the lost icons of the last 30 years. And don't forget our special weekend edition chocolate milk containers, available on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, and wherever you listen to your favorite podcasts, because they feature celebrities like Lindsay Lohan, Helen Hunt, and Jean-Claude Van Damme. Pick up a gallon today. All right, kids, final segment, Sports Frenzy 2.0, taping Wednesday, July the 27th, 2022. This will hit, as always, Thursday morning, the 28th. Well, not every 28th, but every Thursday. You get it, you meatheads. I'm the maestro, Kevin Crane.
I'm the conquistador, Dave Height.
Time to wrap up some miscellaneous sports tidbits, and then we're going to move on to 1 moment of silence, and then we are going to play America's most popular game show, Dumbass or Not. First and foremost, yes,
All right.
we're going to give you a live golf update because this is just so fascinating week in and week out.
This is so much fun. We have another person joining the live to debut at the Boston event later this summer. 2-time Masters winner Bubba Watson is making the jump.
Of course, we talked about David Faraday last week joining the live golf tournament as an announcer.
Yep.
They have approached, Greg Norman has approached Charles Barkley, massive golf fan, of course, most well known for TNT basketball analyst.
Yep.
And Charles Barkley does not pull any punches, kids. If you haven't figured that out by now.
Charles speaks from the heart.
Charles Barkley is playing in the Pro-Am event, I believe at the Trump Golf Course this coming weekend. And then when asked, would he leave TNT, 3 years left on his deal with TNT, $10 million per, he's basically come out and said, if they offer me $30 million a year, I'll jump. I'll go to live.
Why not? Take the money and run.
I'm telling you, kids. And now the expanded schedule for next year is going to make this even more enticing. The Saudis don't give a shit. If you want to rip on them and say it's blood money, they are all in on this.
They are. They are making it happen, adding those events. Not only does Bubba making the jump, but you could also have Paul Casey, Charles Howell III, and Jason Kokrak also making the jump over.
Yeah, because next year they're expanding to 14 events on the Live Tour, upping the prize money, not the appearance fees.
No.
Keep that in mind. These guys are already getting money just to be on the Live Tour. The prize money for 14 events in 2023 will jump up to $405 million. I can just see Mr. Dr. Evil.
Oh, and we've talked about it. Tiger's played over there for years.
He's a hypocrite. He's a hypocrite. He plays in Dubai every fucking chance he gets.
Yep, he's always gone
LeBron
over
James takes Chinese money, does not address the issue
of anything, and it's just as bad, if not worse. So
it's going to get to the point. Next up, we've talked about this, Dave and I, for weeks and weeks. A media deal is coming. Somebody will cave.
Yep.
One of these networks, one of these major streaming services will cave, and they will put Live Golf on in 2023. Mark my words.
It's coming. It's building momentum. It's going to be there. And you know what? The PGA can bitch, piss, and moan as much as they want. There is going to be a Ryder Cup style event between the PGA and the Live. You heard it here first, kids.
Another Sports Frenzy prediction. You can take it to the bank because Dave and I are right 97.4% of the time.
That's right. So when you hear Live versus PGA for some type of tourney, remember, I broke it here, kids.
Moving on to not very popular football. We've got some news with the USFL and the XFL to share with you. The USFL is starting to accomplish what it set out to do. Top quarterback in the USFL from the New Orleans Breakers, Kyle Sloter, has been signed with the Jacksonville Jaguars to back up Trevor Lawrence. And from the Birmingham Stallions, the championship game MVP, Victor Bolden Jr., just signed as a wide receiver for the Arizona Cardinals. So, Victor, here's my suggestion, my advice to you. Figure out a way to keep your fucking quarterback away from his PS5.
Keep him on target.
And did you hear what Kyler Murray's favorite movie is? which I guess he gets roped into watching over and over and over again.
God.
It's not like us. It's not like Caddyshack or The Big Lebowski.
Or Hot Tub Time Machine.
He likes the remake of The Great Gatsby.
Dude.
With Leo DiCaprio and Tobey Maguire.
Dude, you got issues, Kyler. What is wrong with you,
Come
man?
hang with us for a while.
What is wrong with you, dude?
We will have you watching Scavenger Hunt, Hollywood Nights. We will show you what true cinematic greatness is.
Exactly.
And if you want to hear, kids out there, of true cinematic greatness, check out the Weekend Edition everywhere you find our regular podcast.
That's right. Drops Saturday mornings in time to tell you what to listen to, watch, read, keep you entertained and happy.
Moving on to the XFL. The XFL announced they will begin February the 18th, 2023. They will have 8 teams. Surprisingly, and I kind of applaud them for this partially. I think they got it part right, part wrong. They will not have a team in LA. They will not have a team in New York.
Ooh, interesting.
Now, here's the problem I've got. 3 of the 8 teams are in Texas.
Oh, man, come on.
Arlington, Houston, San Antonio.
No. Actually, I like the San Antonio.
Yeah.
Something different, like with the USFL, going to Birmingham. But the others, no. Nope, Texas should not have 3.
Supposedly, they did research on the last incarnation of the XFL. They said Tampa, LA, New York were the 3 worst performing teams in terms of popularity and attendance. So they took the Tampa team, moved them over to Orlando. Very cool there. I love anything that helps out Orlando. Seattle's got a team. So we'll see how this goes.
All right, why wouldn't you have gone up to Portland, who wants to have a team at some point in the NFL?
Again, they're trying to limit the number of teams.
But why would you go to Seattle and not try and go up there?
Or why would you, again, go 3 in Texas?
Exactly.
Why does Houston get another team? Let Houston go bye-bye in the XFL and give that team to Portland.
That would work
I do believe
as well.
St. Louis has got a team. I do believe they did the right thing there and
put
gave
one
St.
there.
Louis a team.
I like it.
Now, of course, the hot button topic that just broke today, which we, of course, have to discuss very quickly. I don't want to spend a lot of time on this because I'll end up pissing off 97% of the population. Brittany Griner, the deal is supposedly in the works to release her and Whelan, the other unjustly, quote-unquote, held American in Russian prison. Now, the problem is, Dave and I talked about this, if you let the Merchant of Death go in this deal, I mean, it's ridiculous. We're talking about this like this is a bad trade in baseball with the trade deadline coming up in MLB.
This is setting a bad precedent because it's going to give all these damn terrorist groups an opportunity to get Americans who are overseas and hold them to get their frickin' people out.
Oh, and of course, they added to the story. Our government did, and they said, well, there will be costs.
There are going to be jack crap.
We will assess costs to any country who would kidnap one of our citizens for ransom. Yeah, what are you going to do? Send them a fucking invoice? Good luck with them paying that off.
That is the stupidest thing that I've ever heard. Absolutely. That is pure lip service for the American public lemmings.
And we're still hearing all this bullshit from her legal team about, well, it was prescribed as a painkiller. Well, she didn't get her Miranda rights. It's fucking Russia! It's not America! It's fucking Russia! How many times do we have to say it? It's not America! The rules don't apply the same in another country! How hard is that for you fucking ingrates to understand?
When you go to another country, you are subject to their laws and their ways of doing things. Stop this whole I'm an American bullshit, which the world hates to hear. We are not the be-all, end-all of everything.
It's like the pompous, arrogant, rich guy who walks into a nightclub ahead of the line and says, "Do you know who I am? Let me in ahead of all these people."
It's like the chain-smoking Frenchman who thinks he's God's gift to women.
Get over it. We don't want to hear the excuses. It's Russian law. It's Russia's rules, not America's rules. She's detained in Russia, not America. So we don't care. They don't care about Miranda rights over there.
They don't care about due process.
You think Putin's going, "Oh, we didn't read her Miranda rights. Well, let me take a bare chestless picture of myself and then let her go."
Oh,
no.
Gee, we didn't know it was a prescription. It's not legal there, people.
God, I mean, it's just idiotic. This is typical idiocy from our media and from our entire populace.
We are not entitled. That's the problem.
It's another fucking country. The rules don't apply from here to there. Get over it. Jesus.
Do your damn homework before you travel. All right. Real quick, one hockey tidbit. The San Jose Sharks now have a new head coach. David Quinn, former Rangers coach, takes over for the fired Bob Bauner. The Sharks underperformed. They're going through a complete overhaul. We'll see what happens, but good for Quinn, I guess, to get another gig, another retread. That's what you have.
Real quick with the NBA before we move on. Good for Monty Williams. Monty Williams, locally, graduate here from Notre Dame, has toiled as a head coach, has put up with a lot of crap, especially when he was in New Orleans. Now he's finally getting the respect he deserves with the Suns. He has done an unbelievable job. Word is he is getting a long-term extension to stay in Phoenix. Good for Monty Williams.
Good for him.
One of the good guys.
Yeah.
In the NBA.
Doing things the right way, not putting up with morons and idiots.
Now he's got to get that title. Got to get over the Golden State hump now. We talked about stupid money with Kyler Murray. How about stupid money with James Harden? Somehow extorts a 2-year, $68 million contract out of the Philadelphia 76ers.
That's desperation in Philly. Complete and utter desperation.
And I'll tell you, Dave, the one thing that
ridiculous.
I can't understand. Who are these people? Who are these people that are paying for season tickets to watch the worthless regular season that the NBA puts out there to give James Harden all his little party money?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And he's not going to play all that often.
And then I get this news related to the 76ers. They already won a new arena.
Oh, come on. Didn't they just get one?
Let me ask you this. How long should a team have to wait before they get a new arena? I don't care if you're talking hockey, basketball, football. Obviously, a football stadium is a lot more money. But how long? How long do you think?
50 years.
How long has Madison Square Garden been around?
Forever.
This new arena for the 76ers, which they want for the 2031-32 season, 30 years old. It'll replace 30-year-old arena.
No, that's ridiculous. No.
They better goddamn well not be going after taxpayer money.
Start saving now, ownership. Get your naming rights in place and start collecting the interest to pay for it.
Then finally, of course, the Kevin Durant trade rumors change week by week. Now, shockingly,
stay out.
LeBron James says Boston is racist. Well, the Nets and the Celtics are talking about Kevin Durant going to Beantown possibly Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and a first-round pick. The Nets poo-pooed that. They say they want more.
No. Nope. Boston would be stupid to bring that in.
I think it's stupid to break up that team.
You don't mess
They
with
were
what you
2 games
have.
away from winning an NBA title.
They are learning. That is a solid team.
They did it
Don't
the right way.
F
They
it up.
drafted. They drafted their own team.
Yeah, don't screw it up and give up pieces of it and bring in a head case who is not going to do you a damn bit of good.
Amen. All right, one moment of silence here in the sports world this week that hits a little bit close for me. Even though I really am not a big fan right now of the Cubs, and they disappoint me with what they're doing right now, and I got a feeling this is going to be a long healing process. I am a true diehard Cubs fan, so I remember a lot of these players, if not all of them, that I have seen in the 70s, the 80s, the 90s, and the 2000s. He won a World Series with the Atlanta Braves, but I will remember him with the Cubs. Dwight Smith passed away. Not very old either.
No.
Which, again, when I see these guys passing before they're 60, it scares me, gives me pause. I'm getting tired of seeing guys dying when they're 55, 58, 52. Because I'm right in that ballpark, and I'm not exactly an Adonis, so I get really worried. But Dwight Smith, not a Cubs legend, but
a baseball icon.
Again.
Somebody solid who's been there.
He was a Cub multiple years. Played hard for us. Played well for us. Rest in peace, Dwight Smith.
Pivot.
As always, it's time to pivot from being solemn to calling out the idiots of the free world.
It's time for America's greatest game show, Red Foreman's Dumbass or Not.
I'm your host, Kevin Crane, and of course, every week we play. Your contestant is the Conquistador Dave Height.
Let's see, can we match?
I have 7 potential dumbasses for you, David. Now, of course, I'm going to start off with a softball, one that you know is coming, because it's a former player from the White Sox.
Yep.
So let's start off with the softball.
Mr. Meltdown?
Carlos Rodon, now pitching for the San Francisco Giants, threw a hissy fit, kicked a bat the other night, which happened to hit his teammate in the knee.
Absolute dumbass for a myriad of reasons. 1, don't be that asshole who throws the hissy fit, breaking equipment. 2, kicking a bat, really? You're going to break a toe that's going to keep you out and put you on the IL? And now you almost put a teammate on the IL. That could have broken his kneecap and kept him out. Absolutely stupid. Complete and utter dumbass.
All right, number 2. You and I talked about this. This kind of hit last week, right around the time we were wrapping up last week's episode. Warriors owner Joe Lacob fined $500,000 by the NBA because he says the luxury tax is very unfair. Of course, the Warriors are astronomically above the luxury tax threshold with Steph Curry and Klay Thompson and Draymond Green and Andrew Wiggins.
Guess what? You bought your title. Now it's time to reap what you sow, you dumbass. You have to put in a hard cap. Penalize the shit out of them.
I'll tell you what. I would make a deal with the devil here. This is a maestro tangent. I would tell the NBA, you put a hard cap on, we'll let you expand. Because the union's going to bitch and piss and moan and say, well, if the teams can't go over the cap, then that's going to be less money going to the players. Then put 2 more teams out there.
Okay, then put in a hard floor, too.
No, I don't think that's the problem with the NBA. I don't think they have a
No,
problem
because
like
they have so
baseball.
many max contracts
Yeah,
out
I
there
don't
they
think-
have to spend.
I don't
All
think
right,
it's a problem
expand
like
then.
baseball.
There you go.
All right.
Actually, let's wait and see when this TV deal ends and when the money dries up what they're going to do.
I still think it's going to be an NHL reset. I still think that's coming. I'm telling you.
All right, number 3.
All right, I got to tell you, I got to preface this. I actually considered, as insane that I am, which I will do anything for this podcast, I thought about doing this on air as we taped. And then I realized, oh my God, I will throw up.
Oh, God.
Kentucky quarterback Will Levis, in the past, has been on video eating bananas, peel and all. Eats a whole banana.
Why?
Now, his latest stunt when it comes to consuming food and beverages, it's out there, kids. You can go see the video. He drank a cup of coffee after he put a bunch of mayonnaise in it. I almost did this just for shits and giggles on this podcast. And I realized after 4 or 5 beers, I really don't think that would go down well.
No, that wouldn't.
Mayo in his coffee. Dumbass
right.
or not.
Whatever floats your boat, dude. I don't know that I can go full dumbass. I can go, ooh, why? Whatever, to each your own, I guess.
Yep, eats bananas, peels and all, and puts mayo in his coffee. So I get a partial dumbass.
Partial. I've heard worse.
All right. Moving on. JJ Redick, one of the newer basketball players, the newer generation, although he is now finally called it quits. He's been around for a little while.
He was around for a while.
But he was not around as long as Bob Cousy.
No.
In a recent ESPN debate, he said Bob Cousy, basically implied Bob Cousy was overrated, Hall of Famer Bob Cousy, because back then Bob Cousy was guarded by, quote, plumbers and firemen, unquote. Basically denigrating all the NBA players back then.
Wow. No, Redick, you are a supreme dumbass for that. You do not know your NBA history.
And it was cool.
Obviously.
Jerry West, of course, had to get in on this. and basically posted JJ Redick's career stats as opposed to Bob Cousy's. And then talked about what we've talked about with baseball players in the 70s, where they had jobs in the winter. They were selling cars. They were selling insurance. They were selling encyclopedias.
And we're making jack crap.
Same thing with the old NBA players.
Yeah, they didn't get to work out all freaking off season.
Have dietitians,
dedicate
chefs, personal trainers.
No, I've never been a Redick fan, and this is just one more reason to dislike the dumbass.
Yeah. Wander Franco is next up. Tampa Bay Rays phenom, who's been mostly injured this year after signing a long-term extension with the Rays.
Amazing how that happens, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Tatis.
Well, here's the part I don't understand. And again, this goes back to ad nauseum, something we've talked about. Lack of control over money with the young athlete. Wander Franco was shocked that he had $650,000 in jewelry stolen from a safe in his Rolls-Royce SUV that he had in a lot at a Jacksonville hotel.
Oh,
why don't you
God.
take it with you? At least you can guard it.
Dumbass, what are you traveling with that much frickin' jewelry to begin with?
Put it in the hotel safe.
Why are you
Make them
traveling
responsible
with it?
for it.
You do not need to have that with you at all times, you idiot, you dumbass.
The bling.
You know what? No.
I don't get the bling thing. I don't get the people. And I just heard a story today from Boomer Esiason where he was playing golf, believe it or not. And they asked him while he was out there on the course, hey, looks like you might have dropped something in your bag. like a tee or a ball or something. He turns the ball the bag upside down to get the ball or the tee out. He finds at the bottom of the golf bag a $30,000 Breitling watch he lost a year and a half ago.
Oh my God! Come on!
He said he'd been calling Breitling to try to get a replacement. He was taking responsibility, saying, I lost it. I don't know where it was in the bottom of his golf bag for a year and a half. I love Boomer, but man, come on, dude. That's rich person problems right there.
Can we double down and go they're both dumbasses?
Sure, why not?
Bonus for you.
Oh, Boomer, I love you, man. But yeah, that when you told us that story today, that was pathetic. A year and a half, the watch had been, and it somehow came out, he said, unscathed with all the clubs that he'd been shoving down in there.
Does he have the club protector sleeves? Which is the only thing I can think that
all he said was the watch came out okay.
What a dumbass.
All right. Jerry Jones, normally he would be the dumbass in a story here in this segment, but I think I'm going to defend him, and I'm going to go off a little bit based on your reaction. Jerry Jones made a joke the other day. He's got
a sense of humor.
I'm gonna paraphrase this, cut it a little short. He was talking about somebody he knew, a short guy, and he was talking about, well, I feel like I should hire a midget and dress him up the same way as this guy and have him stand side by side at training camp. The Little People of America, yes, that is an actual organization. The Little People of America condemned Jerry Jones for using the term midget, while in their condemnation used the term dwarfism and said we need to get away from this kind of nasty, cruel language. And so, of course, Jerry Jones apologized. You know what? I say, fuck the Little People of America. Fuck Peter Dinklage. Get over it. Get over it. Midget is not a bad word. How is dwarf better than midget? You people use dwarfism. You use the term dwarf.
It sounds like we got a bunch of angry elves.
Unbelievable. And of course, they're trying in Snow White. They're not going to call them dwarfs anymore. They're going to call them something else. And they're going to try to make them not as tiny.
Oh, come on. Let's get over this PC bullshit. It is what it is.
Yeah, Peter Dinklage, you're an angry little fucking midget.
No.
How about that?
No, Peter Dinklage is an angry little elf.
All right, this one, the last one we've got to wrap up with because
if you want to know what I'm talking about, watch the Will Ferrell movie Elf.
I almost feel like I should have Dave call this up on his tablet because I have a feeling he hasn't seen the video yet. But
oh God,
our favorite dumbass, especially when it comes to the NFL season, is one Aaron Lateral Thinker Rodgers.
Oh, with this current homeless look?
The slow-mo video that was posted of him arriving at training camp, his homage to Cameron Poe, a.k.a. Nicolas Cage, in Con Air.
Yeah.
I am so over this jackass. He is so full of himself. What was it, last year? He said he grew his hair out because he went for Halloween like John Wick?
Yeah.
You don't have the balls of John Wick, Cameron Poe combined. Take the bunny, stick it up your ass. Don't put it in the box. How about that, Aaron?
There you go. He's such a fucking dumbass.
Oh my God! And he's got he has to do the hair toss.
Yeah,
walking in with the wife beater. Oh my God! And I've got a Nicolas Cage review coming up this weekend on the Weekend Edition. He's a conquistador.
He's the maestro.
Check us out Saturday morning.
Drop us a line.
Check us out next week. We will see you later, kids.